It is not a teacher's job to impose their beliefs upon a child. Religious, sexual orientation, gender identity, any of the above. But allowing movies such as this assist teachers in opening a door, and please hear me, they assist teachers in opening a door for conversations that have no place in our classrooms.
Yeah, so that's what she's missing, and what these parents are missing is they're not in the school system. That just shows me that she's ignorant and has not come and volunteered at all. Because these conversations, these doors, they're open. These students have one-to-one devices. The amount of things that they're able to pull up that we have to shut down, these conversations, these doors that she's talking about, that's telling me I'm stripping her rights as a parent, those rights are gone when your child's in the public school system, because there are students talking about these things. It's where they get 90% of their socialization for the day. And we can't shut down every conversation every child has.
Your rights are gone when your child is in the public school system. Let that sink in, parents, and even non-parents, just adults with common sense and know and remember what it was to be a child. You know, what that teacher had the audacity to say is basically your jurisdiction and authority over your child, it takes a back seat once they go to school. Because they, the teachers and the school administrators, they become the parents. But only to indoctrinate, only to teach. Because if and when your child acts up in school, who they call? Not Ghostbusters. They call you, the parents. So we're only obligated to the school's beck and call when our kids are out of order. But when the teachers are out of order, we can't say nothing. Why? Because apparently we have no rights on what happens from 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Right? Look, I have a daughter that's in fourth grade, I think. Anyway, I don't remember. That's not the point here. The point here is that there's definitely a dereliction of duty when it comes to our school system, to where a teacher feels emboldened to say this on national TV, because the school system, her employer, have emboldened teachers to feel and therefore act this way. So one has to ask themselves, when and why have our school system, made teachers like this feel comfortable to advertise movies and books that promote homosexuality and transgenderism?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The silence of the administration and indeed the House of Representatives on the subject of a senior presidential appointee to the Department of Education is astonishing. Kevin Jennings needs to be replaced. He needs to be replaced today. The so-called safe school czar, appointed by the Obama administration to the Department of Education, is dangerous for our school children. An editorial in yesterday's Washington Times titled, "Obama's Risky Sex Czar." Now, I don't know that I've ever seen an editorial in a major newspaper that came with a bolded warning, just like a new FDA drug. This editorial includes discussion of topics that are sexually graphic. Under usual circumstances, we would never entertain these subjects or the language involved. In this case, however, a very unusual exception must be made because the issues are central to the background of a senior presidential appointee in the United States Department of Education who is in a position to influence how and what our children are taught in our nation's schools. Please do not read any further if you will be offended by the sexually graphic language.
Time has
I yield
expired.
back.
Now, that was Congressman Michael Burgess of Texas, who back in 2009 was calling for the firing of Kevin Jennings, who was recently appointed as the Assistant Secretary in the U.S. Department of Education under the Obama administration. Now, Mr. Jennings, he was found to have been on tape promoting sexual activities, involving minors, as well as promoting books with sexual content for children. Kind of ringing a bell to nowadays, with all these LGBTQ books being banned in Florida. Like I said, history tends to repeat itself. Also, Mr. Jennings was found to be singing the praises of Mr. Harry Hay, a gay advocate who, prior to passing in 2002, was an active supporter of NAMBLA. I don't know if you remember NAMBLA, but that's a North American Man-Boy Love Association. Yeah, this guy. I tell you, man, reading about these people. Now, The way ideologies like this are introduced is, of course, by virtual signaling and applying soft languages. And what Mr. Jennings started to implement was a national stop bullying campaign, which of course I would agree that most people agree with this, as we don't want our children to become depressed with anxiety and fear, when going to school for being bullied. But when the campaign was started, it started to focus more on bullying due to sexual orientation and gender identity, when that was not really the issue when it came to bullying. Bullying was really due to being different based on your external characteristics, like your race, or if you had a big nose, that type of stuff. Now, this is not to say that, at this time, no kid experienced being bullied due to their sexual orientation and gender identity. I'm not saying that, but it wasn't the main issue. But they made it a big issue and the main issue. And to combat it, they promoted books that were sensitive to homosexuality to be used in schools, until lawmakers, started opposing them and started to have them banned. One controversial book that's always been brought up is Tango Makes Three, which is about two gay male penguins that start a family. This book has played hot potato from state to state and county to county, of who will ban it and who will retain it. Now, that was one form of infiltration into our school system. Another one was Mr. Jennings also had a group that started in 1990 called GLSEN, GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, which eventually in 2014 was able to partner with the American Association of Colleges for Teacher Education. And this joint partnership initiated the inclusion of LGBTQ issues into a teacher's preparation. So nowadays, when you see teachers, respecting pronouns and having gay flags in their classroom and such, then yeah, this is one of the groups you could thank.
I have to show you guys my new shirt because I'm obsessed. It's from this year's Target Pride line. I just got it in the mail yesterday. Let me show you. It says homophobia and transphobia can be cured with education. We're making statements today, folks. That is all. Thank you.
Now, another soft language used to get these progressive ideologies into schools was DEI. I'm sure many of you have heard of it: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, if you recall in that first video, that teacher on CNN, she had to throw Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis into the mix, as just recently, his administration was able to remove diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in public colleges, to remove them out, where he has so eloquently named the true mantra of DEI, which is discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination. And this goes to the whole, narcissistic disorder, where people who advocate for inclusion are only inclusive for what they deem as needed to be included. I mean, why not include prayers and, biblical teachings in schools? But they'll say no, because they believe that will be divisive. And promoting homosexuality isn't? I mean, why don't they, empty out their coffers, or at least balance out their bank accounts and give to a more deprived person? That would be equity. But no, because extracting resources from them is unfair, because they subscribe to one of the, many oppressive groups. And why not be diverse and have people with talent but different ideology than yours employed or accepted into your school or program? Once again, they'll say no, because they're not looking for diversity of thoughts, but only external attributes of diversity. People that look different than them, but that will conform to their philosophy. This narcissistic disorder has infiltrated our school system through the Department of Education, to the teachers unions, to various educational boards, all into the curriculum, and unconsciously assimilated into the minds of teachers. To a point where teachers, most of them believe that it is their right to teach and educate students outside of the subject that they have been assigned to teach. I mean, you have some teachers nowadays who feel emboldened to open up, more to the students about their personal life, especially if that life is of an alternative lifestyle. Now, look, there's nothing wrong to be proud of who you are and how you present yourself, everyone's entitled to that. But when that pride turns into the disease of hubris is when these teachers, feel justified and defiant. They feel justified and they defy rules or regulations to where they can say and do whatever they choose to. And to be reprimanded is met with, ad hominem attacks and name calling, like, you're homophobic or transphobic. So apparently, and unfortunately, this teacher said the truth out loud.
Telling me I'm stripping her rights as a parent, those rights are gone when your child's in the public school system.
Now look, I'm not advocating for every parent to take their kids out of public schools because, I know everyone's, situation is different, as private schools can be, pretty expensive. And I know homeschooling, takes a lot of your time when you have to go to work. But what I am saying is do your research. Talk to your kids constantly. Go to their PTA and board meetings if necessary. Because the hunt is on for these young minds. The hunt is on. Seriously. So let me know in the comments below. Are our public schools indoctrinating our kids to an alternative lifestyle? Let me know.